Energy, it is time for another update, and it's been a while since we last covered this stock, but only recently has it actually managed to fulfill our expectations for this wave 4 in white, when it has managed to actually build a 3-wave pattern to the downside instead of a 5-wave pattern as we had identified in the previous video. Yeah, this was strongly suggesting that after a 3-wave correction into OHB resistance area, we would expect with high probabilities at least another 5-wave move to the downside. And not only that, but we have already gotten our confirmation that a more substantial bottom might be indeed in place within this as a wave 4 by building what we can identify as an initial 5-wave move to the upside. All of this is perfectly in line with the rest of the industry, with our overall expectations for the energy sector, where AI has created actually a lot of demand for their products, their services, and nuclear energy is highly expected to be a part of this energy run the AI demands. So, from a larger time frame perspective, we do actually have quite a few options on how this structure could really develop. But fortunately, since we have at least this confirmation within a smaller time frame, the trade setup that I'm going to provide to you today will not even care about the larger time frame picture, at least not until it builds 3 waves up, because that would be the likely portion of any structure, right? Even if this is only to build a relief rally, only an internal correction, these 3 waves up are still the expectation. We would still expect one more high. Now, don't get me wrong, I do actually strongly prefer that we follow through within this idea of a wave 5. This wave 4 area of support would have been quite compelling anyway, even more so now that, again, this structure is rather complete and it has built it rather perfectly. Now, ideally, if this structure is to materialize how we envision it, we would be expecting right now to build an impulse within this as a wave 5 in white. We would be expecting to push to significantly higher prices, but once again, the likely portion of this structure is going to be the next wave to the upside, and beyond that, we would need to manage our expectations and reassess this development. Now, in the smaller time frame, as we can identify an initial 5-wave move to the upside within this idea of a leading diagonal, we can also identify a high probability area of support at the levels between $205.4 down to $178. As long as we do not get a sustained break below the 78.6% retracement, this structure will continue to have a high probability to extend directly higher, potentially within a larger wave 3, or at the very least within a wave C, if nothing more. Now, in this correction so far, I believe we might even be able to consider an initial 5-wave move to the downside. I find it rather likely that this correction would be extending in this wave 2 in white, even if we weren't to actually identify this movement to the downside as 5 waves, because within the corrections we had within the smaller degree, right, internally within this wave 1 to the upside, the corrections have actually been more significant than what we currently have present. So I would be watching quite cautiously for a potential larger ABC pattern that could very easily generate a reset within this wave 2 in white. And for this, I would need to watch the levels of resistance up to the 78.6% retracement at $227. And only with a sustained break above that do we actually get an indication that, we might actually be forming a bottom sooner rather than later. But to be honest, if we are to extend directly higher from these current lows, I would find it rather more likely that this structure is building a different path. Perhaps this wave 5 would need one more high, perhaps something different altogether. But what is certain is that it wouldn't be within my primary expectations of this being a wave 2 that would be currently building. This wave 2, I strongly consider would actually need to form a reset. I am not satisfied with what is currently in place, and that would be actually quite positive for us because it would allow for positioning within even more favorable risk-reward ratios, deeper into the support levels, where we know, even if we go to the 78.6% retracement, that as long as we do not get a sustained break below it, we would still expect to successfully follow through to significantly higher prices. And for now, One more thing we could watch out for is the larger resistance area, but I believe it to maybe be a bit early. Nonetheless, if you want to watch out for a potential extension to lower prices, the levels of resistance we could watch out for are here, starting at $219, go all the way up to $295. But to be honest, I would focus on the smaller time frame. I would focus on the internal structure where within this wave 2, once again, I expect an extension. It looks likely that this wave A has already bottomed, that we would already be extending to higher prices, but I would primarily expect it to be within this wave B, and I would still be looking for one more low once the wave B has actually topped. One more thing before we end the video. If you want to get significantly more opportunities, get even more timely updates, and work on these setups with me, you can send me an email. The address will show up on the screen right now. But for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.